If you've ever been trapped in your own mind, thoughts spinning on repeat, checking the same thing over and over, or feeling like your brain just won't shut off, this information could explain why. And in this video, I'm going to talk about how a compound that's been sitting in a hospital emergency room for over 40 years might be the missing piece for all those battling with things like OCD, bipolar, or addiction, to the more common struggles day to day that we face: a racing mind, overthinking things, or just getting caught up in habits. These are all part of patterns that shape how we think, feel, and act. Because there's a biological reason behind those obsessive thoughts that can ruin your day. Your brain's alarm system could literally be broken, stuck firing warning signals when there's no real danger. You see, a few years back, researchers stumbled upon a compound that's now been shown in multiple studies to be able to actually reset that broken alarm. It's called N-Acetyl Cysteine, or short NAC. Now, NAC isn't some miracle cure, but what the research is showing is generally surprising. It can target the brain's chemistry behind obsessive thinking and compulsive behaviors. And it's doing it through mechanisms that most people have never even heard of. But before we dive into all that, how it works, let me tell you what happened in one of the most eye-opening studies. Researchers worked with people battling trichotillomania, a compulsive hair-pulling disorder that had left many of them feeling ashamed and socially isolated. After just 12 weeks on NAC, 56% of them experienced significant improvement, saying that they were much or very much improved, compared to only 16% on placebo. Not just feeling better, but actually breaking free from behaviors they thought they'd never control. That's the kind of result that makes you pay attention. NAC started its medical career in the ICU over 40 years ago. Doctors have used it as the go-to antidote for Tylenol overdoses. When someone takes too much of that acetaminophen that's in Tylenol, NAC steps in, replenishes glutathione, and literally saves lives. Now, glutathione is a powerful antioxidant, and it turns out your brain uses more of it than almost any other organ in your body. It's constantly fighting off oxidative stress and inflammation. And if glutathione levels drop, your brain becomes vulnerable. That's when things can start going wrong. Turns out, beyond its liver protection, NAC appears to normalize levels of a brain chemical called glutamate. And glutamate is huge. It's your brain's primary go signal, the most abundant excitatory neurotransmitter in your nervous system. You need it for memory, learning, focus, and even motivation. Every time you have a thought, make a decision, or form a memory, glutamate is involved. It's like the electric current that keeps your brain functioning and firing. But too much glutamate is like keeping your foot pressed on the gas pedal 24/7. When glutamate gets out of control or out of balance, the system overheats. Neural circuits start misfiring. And in GABA, a neurotransmitter that's designed to put the brakes on things, just can't keep up. Obsessive thoughts, compulsive behaviors, anxiety, and mood instability all take over. If you've ever felt stuck in your own head, looping on the same thought no matter what you do, that's exactly the kind of cycle NAC is being studied to interrupt. And this discovery happened almost by accident. Researchers noticed that psychiatric patients receiving NAC for other medical reasons started to report improvements in their mental health symptoms. They started testing NAC in OCD, one of the most stubborn mental health conditions to treat. And what made this different was NAC wasn't tested as a replacement for standard treatments like SSRIs. It was actually added on top, given with those therapeutic drugs to see if it could push results even further. The results were compelling, meaningful drops in obsessive thinking and compulsive behaviors compared to placebo. We're talking about reductions that translated to real life, less time spent checking, obsessing, or overthinking, less interference with work and relationships. But here's what caught researchers' attention. It wasn't just OCD. The same broken alarm system, that glutamate imbalance, was showing up across multiple conditions. Studies in bipolar disorder showed NAC helped stabilize mood swings and reduce the intensity of both manic and depressive episodes. Addiction research showed promising results. Even in schizophrenia, patients saw improvements in symptoms that don't typically respond to typical medications. These patterns were consistent. When you fix the underlying glutamate imbalance, people become less reactive, less impulsive, and more emotionally stable. It's like finally getting that stuck alarm to stop going off when there's no actual fire. And there's another piece to this puzzle that makes the whole picture click together: neural inflammation. When chronic stress, poor sleep, infections, or even a bad diet raise inflammatory signals in the brain, specialized immune cells called microglia shift into attack mode. Normally, they're like security guards protecting your brain. But when they stay active for too long, they start causing collateral damage, pumping out inflammatory molecules that actually increase glutamate production. So now we've got a vicious cycle. Inflammation drives glutamate excess, which creates more stress, which triggers more inflammation. It's like adding fuel to an already out of control fire. And it turns out NAC breaks this cycle from both sides. It replenishes glutathione to calm the inflammation while also rebalancing glutamate signaling. In brain imaging studies, researchers could actually see these changes: physical inflammation in brain regions dropping and obsessive compulsive behaviors improving right alongside. Now, let's dive deeper into what this means for different types of people. If you're someone who's tried traditional treatments with limited success, NAC represents a fundamentally different approach. Instead of trying to force your brain into submission with heavy medications, you're working with its natural chemistry to restore balance. Take someone dealing with perfection and obsessing. You know the type, spending hours agonizing over emails, replaying conversations, unable to let go of mistakes. Traditional therapy might focus on changing thought pattern, which is valuable, but NAC targets the biological root of why those thought patterns get stuck in the first place. When your glutamate system is balanced, those obsessive loops become much easier to break. Or consider someone with what you might call analysis paralysis, the inability to make decisions because every option feels overwhelming. This often stems from an overactive anterior cingulate cortex, the brain region responsible for conflict and monitoring. When glutamate levels are too high in this area, every choice is like life or death. NAC helps dial down that intensity, making decision-making feel more manageable. Here's something particularly interesting about the timing of NAC's effects. Unlike traditional psychotic medications that can take 6 to 8 weeks to show benefits, many people report noticing changes with NAC within, I think it's 2 to 4 weeks. This suggests it's working through a different mechanism, not slowly building up neurotransmitter levels, but actually modulating brain chemistry in real time. But here's where it gets really fascinating, at least to me. NAC might be especially effective for what researchers call sticky symptoms, the ones that persist even when other aspects of mental health improve. You might feel better overall on an antidepressant, but still struggle with specific compulsive behaviors. Or you might have your anxiety under control, but certain obsessive thoughts keep intruding. These sticky symptoms often involve glutamate dysfunction, which is exactly what NAC targets. The research also suggests that NAC might be particularly beneficial for people whose symptoms are triggered by stress or inflammation. If you notice your mental clarity gets worse when you're under pressure, sleep deprived, or fighting off an illness, that's often a sign that neural inflammation is playing a big role. In these cases, NAC's dual action, both calming inflammation and rebalancing glutamate, can be especially powerful, with the benefits of NAC extending beyond mental health because it's supporting fundamental cellular processes: glutathione production, oxidative stress reduction, and inflammation control. Often people report improvements in energy, sleep quality, and even physical recovery from exercise. It's like giving your whole system a tune-up, not just targeting one specific symptom. For those considering NAC, it's worth understanding that this isn't a quick fix mentally. The most significant benefits often emerge gradually as your brain's regulatory system slowly recalibrate. So some people notice changes within days, while others need several weeks. And the effects tend to be cumulative. The longer you maintain balance with glutamate levels, the more stable your overall mental state becomes. There's also emerging research suggesting that NAC might work synergistically with other treatments. Combined with therapy, it can make behavioral changes easier to implement. This represents exactly the kind of personalized multimodal approach that the future of mental health treatment is moving toward. Now, you might be thinking, these studies are on people with diagnosed conditions. What about someone who just has a racing mind, tends to overthink everything, or has those mild OCD tendencies like consistently checking your phone or replaying conversations in your head? Here's the thing. The brain mechanisms are exactly the same. Whether you have clinical diagnosis or you're just someone who just can't turn off the mental chatter, the severity might be different, but the underlying biology is remarkably the same. So let's talk practical application. In most mental health studies, researchers use 2,000 to 3,000 milligrams per day, usually split into morning and evening dosages. But for the average person just looking to quiet a racing mind, you don't necessarily need those clinical doses. Start with the basics. That would be supporting pathways naturally. Regular exercise helps balance glutamate levels, quality sleep reduces brain inflammation, and stress management through meditation can calm that overactive alarm system. If you're considering NAC, remember, start low and start slow. Many people begin with 600 milligrams once a day with food. The goal isn't to shut down your brain, but to find a sweet spot where your thoughts feel more manageable. NAC is generally well tolerated, but some people do report mild nausea, an upset stomach, especially when it's in high dosages. Taking it with food usually helps these symptoms. And always talk to your doctor first, especially if you're on other medications, because NAC can interact with blood thinners and antibiotics. And the exciting part about this research is for years, treatment for mental health conditions has focused narrowly on neurotransmitters like serotonin and dopamine. NAC shows us there's another layer we've all been missing: oxidative stress, inflammation, and glutamate imbalance. It's like you've been trying to fix a complex machine by only adjusting 2 dials when there are actually several other mechanisms we should be paying attention to. This opens a door to more personalized approaches, not miracle cures, but additional tools in the toolkit. What's remarkable is that NAC isn't about numbing symptoms or sedating the brain. It's about restoring biological balance, helping your brain's natural regulatory systems function closer to how they're supposed to work. For anyone dealing with persistent mental chatter or compulsive behaviors, NAC represents a promising avenue worth exploring with your healthcare provider. So make sure you talk to your doctor first. But the biggest takeaway is mental health isn't just about brain chemistry in isolation. It's about inflammation, oxidative stress, and complex interactions between all of these symptoms working together. The field of nutritional psychiatry is still young, but studies like these show it's moving from fringe science into mainstream medicine. We're beginning to understand that what we put into our bodies, whether it's food, supplements, or medications, directly impacts how our brains function. And that opens up possibilities that we're only just beginning to explore. Thanks for watching. If you guys want to see another video that has to do with brain function and brain health, check out this one, and we'll see you in the next video.